Hello, I'm here with Steve Balet, head of the activism practice at FTI Consulting. Steve, Europe seems to be becoming a great deal more attractive for American activist firms. Why is that?
Well, I think that activism in the United States has matured and developed over the past 10 years. A lot of the companies that were the low-hanging fruit have already been targeted. And so the U.S. activists, as they've grown and matured, are now looking over across the Atlantic at Europe as a fertile ground for activism and to increase their investments.
And is what they have to do here different from what they've been doing in the United States?
I think it is, and I think that to their credit, they have adjusted accordingly. In the United States, activism started with very aggressive roots. But over the past 10 years, we've seen a lot more behind-the-scenes activism. We see a lot more situations ending in settlement rather than in a contested vote. And they've taken those lessons and understood that in Europe, that type of approach, the behind-the-scenes approach, the less out there in the public sphere approach, seems to appeal more to the institutional investors based here than a more aggressive approach. And we've seen that from the U.S. activists and also from the European activists, such as Sevian and a few others who seem to take that approach as well.
And if you are approached by an activist, what would be the best company reaction?
Well, when you're approached by an activist, we counsel companies to treat it like you're approached by an investor. They have bought shares in your company and made an investment, and they should be treated as you would treat any other investor, with engagement. Now, activists are slightly different in that they have a plan, or they may want you to do something or take a certain action, which may be something you agree with and it's not the right time, or something that you simply don't agree with at all. But you should engage with them. In determining how you will engage with them and determining to what level you will engage with them, you have to understand who the activist is. Is the activist someone that's very well established and has a great deal of credibility in the investment community? Or is the activist new and perhaps not that established, or has a track record which isn't that good? That's going to inform your strategy for engagement.
And how do you fend somebody off if you've decided they really you don't want to engage with them?
Well, I think in almost 100% of circumstances, you engage to some degree. The real question is, how much do you move or do you change to appease the activist? And I think in a lot of cases with certain activists that are calling for a radical change or something that you do not feel is good for long-term shareholder value, then you have to go out to your shareholders and make your case as to why it's not. And the best companies are doing that before an activist even approaches them. And that's what we're seeing a lot of in the United States, and I think we'll see a lot more of in Europe, of companies going out to investors and communicating the decision-making process that's happening in the boardroom, as well as the decisions they reached. We met, we discussed, we thought about a share buyback, we thought about a special dividend, but in the end, we believe that investing in a new plant or investing in expanding our presence in Asia is the best way to go to increase shareholder value.
Which is something that they should have been talking to their shareholders about even before an activist turns up.
Absolutely. It is what we call a way to immunize your shareholder base from an activist. If you bring up the issues an activist would bring up yourself, when the activist approaches those institutions, which it's important to know, activists come up with a plan, but they approach your shareholders before they might even approach you, just to see if there's any interest in what they're proposing. If you've already brought that up to your shareholders, the interest won't be there and the activists will turn to another investment.
Okay. Steve Balet, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.